Hello, I'm Evan Koslof. You're watching a special report on Spectrum News. It is 6:50 on the dot in the nation's capital, where President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are holding a news conference right now. Let's listen in. This right here is a big moment that they were able to get it done, and now it looks like he's about to sign his signature.
The inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump here in snowy Washington will look very different than past years. Because of the bitter cold here in Washington, it's been moved inside.
One of the central questions here is what to do with Crimea. This key peninsula in southern Ukraine was annexed by Russia back in 2014. Well, Sharon, it was definitely one of the most powerful moments I've ever witnessed in the Senate chamber. There's no photography allowed, so I'll try to set the scene for you.
You described it right when you said it's like the first day of school here. When you're walking around, you're seeing lawmakers that are here with their families. We see young kids all dressed up in their suits here. Our Kevin Fry is over at one of the House office buildings over at Cannon. He said he spotted a game of Duck, Duck, Goose.
A lot of the attention has gone to those big ticket items that we're talking about. So, of course, the $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, the slashing of programs like Medicaid and the food assistance program SNAP. But nestled in there were also some big changes to student loans. No doubt you've seen the headlines. President Donald Trump says that he wants to end birthright citizenship here in the U.S. But can he do it? Now, to self-deport, migrants are being directed to this app, the CBP Home app. DHS says that once they sign up, they'll be temporarily deprioritized from immigration enforcement. It's been a show of force here in Washington, D.C., with military vehicles like this one now being parked in front of national landmarks as federal agents have flooded into this city. Long before it arrives on your plate, fruits and vegetables start off on farms like this one in northern Michigan, growing everything from asparagus to strawberries to cherries and apples, each of them hand-picked, demonstrating why it takes so much labor to get this done.
And I think that's job number one for him. He needs to introduce himself, so we're going to hear a lot about his bio. I think he's going to talk about his time as a coach.
It was a dominant night for former President Donald Trump, but to get his agenda passed, he's going to need the help of Congress. So let's take a look at the balance of power on Capitol Hill, starting with the Senate.
I have to tell you, Evan, that day was so devastating.
Why stop at just scheduling it down? How realistic is a two-state solution?
People need to see this.
In June, Spectrum News sat down with Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn and Democrat Senator Tammy Duckworth.
What does governance look like?
John Kirby, the White House National Security Communications Advisor, said this is a crucial moment for the future of Syria.
How do you expect to do all these big goals when you've got this tiny little margin here?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made. How do you know that? Because that's what I do. I make deals.
For the first time since the summit was announced, President Donald Trump answers questions about his high-stakes meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday, all as he seeks an end to the 3.5-year war that he promised to resolve on day one.
I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times, and I've been disappointed.
The president is moving forward with the meeting, despite criticism from many of Ukraine's allies that President Volodymyr Zelensky is not included.
There'll be some swapping.
President Trump also indicating that Ukraine might need to give up some of its territory to make a deal.
There'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody. To the good, for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both. So there's good and there's bad.
Zelensky has said repeatedly that he would not accept any deal that includes the loss of Ukrainian territory.
We understand the intention of the Russians to try to deceive America, and we will not allow it.
This will be the first U.S.-Russian summit since 2021, when former President Joe Biden met with Putin in Geneva. The meeting place of Alaska is, of course, a symbolic choice, since the land was sold to the U.S. by Russia more than 150 years ago.
Evan Koslof joins us from Washington. Evan, what might a possible land swap look like?
Well, Sharon, of course, those exact details are still unclear, but you could get some clues by taking a look at the battle lines. Right now, it's these 4 regions right here in East Ukraine where there's partial or full control by Russia. If they were able to create a pathway by creating substantial amounts of land through all 4, it would create a pathway to here, Crimea, which was annexed by Russia back in 2014. And this so-called land bridge is something that's been coveted by President Putin for a long time. So we know that this is what Russians will likely be demanding, which is, of course, something that Ukrainians are not going to support.
It's been a long climb up the ladder of seniority, and with each passing year, I've been able to do more for the state of Maine.
Senator Susan Collins has been a fixture in Washington since she was elected to the Senate in 1996.
You've seen 8 Senate majority leaders in your time, 5 presidents. Over all this time, how has Washington changed?
Washington has become more partisan over the years. I think we need to look for common ground.
Collins joined us in her new office on the first floor of the Capitol, designated for the Senate Appropriations Committee. This term, Collins became the first Republican woman to chair this powerful committee.
I come to Washington not as an enemy of government, but as one committed to improving it.
Collins is a lifelong Republican, but at times has bucked her party and its leader, President Donald Trump. Just this week, she declared that she would vote against Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
I did not find that Mr. Hegseth had the experience and perspective that was needed.
Collins says that she spoke with Trump after his inauguration and hopes to work closely with the incoming administration, despite their past differences. During Trump's second impeachment trial after the January 6th riot in 2021, Collins was one of just 7 Republicans that voted to convict him.
We're not going to always agree on issues. I don't agree with the president's pardon of violent individuals who were involved in the riot on January 6, 2021, and actually assaulted police officers.
Collins also expressed concerns with Trump's plans for wide-scale tariffs, in particular, a threatened 25% tariff against Canada, the biggest trade partner for her home state.
I'm trying to get the administration to think more thoroughly about the ramifications.
And as the chair of Appropriations, Collins will have a big impact on the budget. She says her top priorities are rural development, defense, infrastructure, and biomedical research. Reporting here on Capitol Hill, I'm Evan Koslof, Spectrum News.
Across Canada, we heard a similar story.
Beer, baseball, and barbecue is a great way to spend a summer vacation.
Canadians with big plans to travel to the U.S.
Do golf trip, watch the Masters.
To spend time with friends or to see loved ones.
I would go a few times a year to visit family.
But all 3 of these Canadians say that this year will be different. Travel to the U.S. is off the table.
I told my buddies I can't travel to a country that's threatening to annex us in good conscience.
Take John DeRue from Vancouver Island.
So when I say they should be a state, I mean that.
He said it was the rhetoric from President Donald Trump about making Canada the 51st state that pushed him to pull the plug on a group trip to Phoenix.
We don't find this funny.
Same goes for Heath Graham of Saskatoon in central Canada. He had plans for a 10-day road trip ending in Austin, Texas.
Barbecue-themed trip.
But now he's trading ribs and brisket for whitewater rafting in northern Canada.
I don't think it's safe to go down there anymore.
And then there's Casey Broughton of Montreal, who identifies as transgender and is also blaming politics for why a visit to see family in Washington, D.C. won't be happening.
How is it that it took all this to get Canadians to appreciate that we have a beautiful country we should see more of?
And these 3 Canadians are part of a broader trend of Canadians canceling trips in a backlash fueled by tariffs and the fiery rhetoric coming out of the White House. Preliminary data for April from Statistics Canada shows that the number of land trips by Canadians out of the U.S. plummeted by over 35% compared to last year, while air trips dropped by nearly 20%.
We're the tourism capital of the world.
Last month, President Trump dismissed this dip in tourism and the role his rhetoric might be playing.
There's a little nationalism there, I guess, perhaps. It's not a big deal.
Meanwhile, beyond Canada, the numbers are a bit more mixed. Preliminary data from the National Travel and Tourism Office shows that international visitors from outside Canada and Mexico dropped by some 12% in March compared to the year before, but then increased in April by 8%.
These overseas travelers are absolutely critical to the American economy.
Jeff Freeman, the president of the U.S. Travel Association, says these international travelers spend roughly $180 billion in the U.S. every year, making up a fifth of the entire travel industry.
It's not too late. We can regain these travelers. The most important thing we can do, though, is send a message that we want their business.
The Golden State and Canada have always shared so much in common.
And that's what many state leaders have tried to do, unveiling ads like this one featuring California's Governor Gavin Newsom.
Or you know who's trying to stir things up back in D.C., but don't let that ruin your beach plans.
But will this messaging work on everyday Canadians?
Sorry, it's just,
At least for now, the Canadians that we spoke with say it's done little to change their minds.
it's forever changed our relationship. We wish we could go back to the U.S., but for right now, it's just sort of off the table.
In Washington, I'm Evan Koslof, Spectrum News.